Hello, movie friends. Welcome back to the show. Anthony here.
And James here, and we just got a brand new MCU Marvel movie, and it was awesome. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. It has been a huge hit so far. It's well over $400 million global box office in just a handful of days. We just saw it Thursday night at IMAX, obviously. Had a great time checking out the screening. The only downside is we didn't get to see the Avatar trailer before because it was at the headquarters.
Well, it just came out today.
But we just saw it on the internet, and that was really cool. But because that paired with it, but this movie was super fun, and it was a great way to, it seems like, setting up the groundworks for what's to come in the MCU, which we'll talk about. But there's so much to discuss, so many great cameos. Obviously, if you have not seen this movie, spoiler warnings ahead, because we're going to talk about everything in this movie. It's not going to be a spoiler-free review. We're going to go over everything. I'm sure you've all seen it, but if you don't want to find out what happens in the movie, all these crazy secret cameos, definitely see the movie first before tuning into this whole episode.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it was gigantic in scope, and the visuals were pretty outstanding for the most part. And Sam Raimi, I think that Marvel was really smart to give him a lot of creative control visually. There's a lot of stuff that I'm talking visuals, filmmaking techniques that you never see in Marvel movies up until this point that he threw in. And I thought that was really great to see a new refreshing feel and vibe and tone for the MCU. It was also much more mature in terms of the violence that we saw on screen. I thought that it was about time Marvel really pushes the envelope with showing violence, showing death on screen. I think they really needed this as a breath of fresh air. And so I think Sam Raimi brought a lot to the film and to the MCU that fans have been craving.
Yeah, hopefully this is like a precursor to maybe Blade and other movies like that we want to be hard PG-13s, and like obviously they won't ever make a rated R movie, probably besides like Deadpool franchise, which is 20th Century Fox anyways in combination. But like I want a hard PG-13 Blade movie, which I hope we'll get because, like Haley said, there's pretty decent amount of deaths shown in this movie. Even Doctor Strange, a version of him, gets killed by the fence outside of the
impaled,
impaled, and like you see the whole thing. It's like, wow, you don't usually see stuff like that in a Marvel Disney movie.
Yeah, and the Illuminati scene was really graphic. I was like, wow, they're showing a lot. Like you're not seeing it on screen, but it's just enough where you know what's happening. Like the shield, like Captain Carter getting cut in half. I was like, oh my God. I was like, wow, this is great. I'm really glad they're throwing this into this movie. It was really surprising, but in a pleasant way. And I think that was one of the strengths of the film, letting Sam Raimi really do his thing.
And this movie, I really enjoyed it. There are some things we'll talk about in terms of cons throughout the episode. But I think first and foremost, the first con I have for it is I think they revealed too much in the trailers. Mm-hmm. There's a lot shown in the trailers that I think if they kept hidden until the movie came out would have blown people's minds. Like Professor X in the trailers and seeing his hand, hearing his voice, you're like, oh, Professor X is in this movie. That's really cool. But people are going to see this movie regardless. And I think, can you imagine the audiences if Professor X came into the movie? We all would have freaked out because I went in knowing that. I went in knowing about a couple other cameos. Obviously, I knew about, spoilers, obviously, if you haven't seen it, Captain Carter, I knew about that cameo. I knew about Captain Marvel. Did I say Captain Carter before just now? All right, and then Captain Marvel, I knew that was going to happen. Obviously,
I didn't know those.
I saw those they're all over Twitter and everything. Obviously, I didn't know about Krasinski as Reed Richards, which was super cool. And that's kind of like something that I love Marvel because that basically was manifested by the fans, just constantly asking them via Twitter and Instagram and on YouTube comments for the last 5 years to make him the leader of the Fantastic Four.
Marvel generally gets what they want.
And Mr. Fantastic. And now obviously the rumors are if the Fantastic Four is going to be made going forward, which I think they will, with him being the lead and the leader in Mr. Fantastic, obviously, and maybe directing that movie as well. So a lot of the cameos I knew were going to happen. Reed Richards, I was super surprised by. I was like, that was the moment in the theater. I was like, oh man, Krasinski is so cool. But everything else I kind of knew about, so I was like a little bit taken out of the fact that like I wish they kept those secret. Really,
did they reveal the cameos in any like upcoming
trailers? There were quick shots. So there's a quick shot
like the trailers released like week before, right up to
more
the release.
like 3 weeks. Like one of the, I think the last trailer they released, there was the shot of Captain Carter fighting Wanda.
Really?
You don't know who she's fighting, but it's the shot of her like being pushed backwards and she's like grabbing the ground with her shield out, so you know it's Captain Carter because her shield, it's the Captain Carter shield, just like Captain America's shield almost. Yeah. And then another one was Captain Marvel glowing, but she's completely glowing that moment when she was fighting. You know, when she does that, and she's like she's a holographic human being, you know what I mean?
Yeah, super.
So there's a shot of that. all over the internet as well.
Really? So I didn't watch. I only watched the initial trailer, and then I didn't watch any other trailers because I wanted to go into it open-ended without having any idea who was in it. But I knew Professor X was in it because he has that line in the trailer. So I didn't know about the other cameos. So I was very surprised by seeing all of them except for Professor X. But I think that was also a problem. And it's not Marvel and it's not Feige. It was Disney.
Yes, he doesn't have control over it.
Kevin Feige actually complained about the trailer giving too much away because Disney's in control of it. So they're making the trailers that they're putting out. So it's Disney, head of Disney, those people, those execs who are saying we want to throw more into the trailer and reveal more.
I just don't get why everyone's going to go see this movie in the first place. And I think
because like they didn't show any Spider-Man, they didn't show Andrew, and they didn't show Toby, but people
that's Sony control probably.
Yeah, but still, what I'm saying is like they didn't show them in the trailer, but we all still saw it.
Yeah, I don't know why they just felt the need to do it. It's probably my biggest con for the movie, where going in like I knew. I think it would have been an even better experience if I didn't know about those cameos. And I didn't even watch the trailers. There's just screen grabs all over. See, you're not on Twitter. That's why you probably didn't see any of it.
I'm not on Twitter.
All over. If you don't want stuff spoiled, don't ever go on Twitter because, man, everything's everywhere. But I kind of knew that stuff going in. But aside from that, there's still so much to talk about, and I still really enjoyed the movie. But before we continue, the best way to support Raiders of the Lost Podcast, besides using our coupon codes, is to become a patron at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast, where you get awesome perks like personalized videos, Patreon shouts on the show, weekly bonus episodes, and watch parties every month, which we have with our $10 and $25 tier patrons, and $100 tier patrons, which is a new chosen one tier, which is the most baller tier of all time. $10, $25 tier, and $100 tier patrons have access to our Discord, which we interact with all the time, and that's where we have our watch parties and stuff like that. We also launched our podcast masterclass online course, so for anyone who wants to start a podcast or improve their current podcast, our 22-chapter 46 video lesson course will give you all the secrets behind the scenes of our show. The link is podcast masterclass.teachable.com, or just go to our website, raidersofTheLostPodcast.com. It's right there on the homepage. Be sure to follow, subscribe wherever you're listening, leave those 5-star reviews. Thanks for tuning in around the world. Now let's get back into Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, because there is so much to go over.
It's just like there's all these great cameos for what we assume is the future of the MCU, and post-credit scene with Charlize Theron. And there was a lot of new characters that we saw in this movie. So I want to ask you, who is your favorite character in this entire movie out of all of them? It could be even just if they were on screen for a minute or the whole movie.
New ones or
just in general?
Oh, Wanda. I mean, Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
Scarlet Witch in this movie was the best part of the film, and I've been wanting like an unstoppable villain for a while, because you could see obviously Thanos, when he has all of the stones, is pretty much the only character I can think in the MCU that is, matches up, maybe not toe for toe against Scarlet Witch, but is comparable in terms of powers and abilities. But he needs all the stones to be that, whereas Scarlet Witch already is that powerful pretty much. And obviously when she fought Thanos at the end of Infinity War, she wasn't Scarlet Witch yet. She was Wanda. That's why she couldn't beat him. But Scarlet Witch, which she becomes during the show WandaVision,
she messes him up in Endgame then, too.
She is just beyond powerful, but she's still not Scarlet Witch. She's not Scarlet Witch yet. When she's Scarlet Witch, though, she's incredibly powerful, and I thought that her story arc was really terrific, because they're adding from WandaVision all the pain and trauma she's experienced, and I think her goals are really effective for a villain and an antagonist, and she grows so much. But the unstoppability of her and the immense power was so intriguing. How dark she went. I mean, Sam Raimi, I'm so glad he directed this movie, because the horror aspect of this movie was excellent, especially with Wanda. She was like a movie monster.
At Carmitage,
At oftentimes, it was like a monster movie, which is so great. Like when she's limping in the hallways. I'm like, this is freaking, this is the best part of the movie. So I think Wanda was my favorite part of the movie, hands down, even though her abilities were limited and toned down in the movie, because I think what they did with Wanda is similar to what happened to Neo in The Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolutions, where, Neo becomes this all-powerful being inside the Matrix. He can do whatever he wants to the reality in the Matrix. Scarlet Witch can do whatever she wants with reality, and we get teases of that in the first act and second act of the film. But then the third act, she kind of just becomes another being. It's like she's like an Iron Man type character, mostly shooting stuff and doing some magic here and there. But in terms of like when she closes what's his name's mouth with reality, she could do stuff like that. Obviously, they need to make it a movie where she can't just win because she could turn everyone into ice cream cones.
Yeah,
because she
you
can
could
make
say
reality what she
Thanos
wants.
could have done that at the end of Endgame.
It's just, it is what it is because they need to make a movie where there's conflict. Otherwise, she would just win in a second.
By the way, his name is Black Bolt.
Black
okay?
Bolt, sorry. The king of the Immortals. Not the Immortals, the king of the Inhumans. I'm sorry about that. We are going to do our best in this episode. If we get stuff wrong, please bear with us. So you could even say Scarlet Witch's powers were toned down in this movie, despite the fact showcasing how unstoppable she really is. But yeah, best part of the movie, I think.
Yeah, I think she could be maybe just right below Thanos in terms of best villains the MCU has done. I think she's number 2 behind Thanos in Infinity War, that Thanos, because I think that's the best villain they'll ever have. But I really loved how more advanced she is in magic and how much more knowledgeable she is. So, because she's at the end of WandaVision, we see that she's learning and just absorbing as much information as possible
out of the Darkhold.
Yeah,
That's what
exactly.
She's reading.
And so by the time this movie starts, she's probably just as knowledgeable as Doctor Strange is, because she's been
more knowledgeable.
Yeah, because she's been researching in her with her spirit body, so she can do that constantly and absorb the information, whereas Doctor Strange is just doing it when he's just normal self. So I think she's probably even spent more time educating herself than Doctor Strange has, even in this short amount of time.
Well, I wouldn't say she knows more than Doctor Strange, because Doctor Strange has the entire library of the sorcerers to use, where she's reading the Darkhold. That's what she's an expert on now, and that's what's corrupted her. So Doctor Strange he didn't know of the he knew of the Darkhold, but he didn't have access to it because only the Sorcerer Supreme has access to it, the copy of it.
Yeah.
So that's what she's reading. Doctor Strange obviously knows more about magic because he has the library
overall.
Yeah. So she was just
she's not using any sling rings.
Yeah, she's not using sling rings. She doesn't need that. She's like, I don't need that shit. I'm Scarlet Witch. So she's an expert on the Darkhold, so the dark magic, the dark spells, the chaos magic.
And I thought it was a really smart approach for the story, because when she showed up at Carmitage by 20 minutes into the movie, and she's like full on villain mode, I was like, awesome, sign me up. I've been wanting to see her just go full baddie for a while now, and I really enjoyed Scarlet Witch being the Scarlet Witch in this film, and Elizabeth Olsen absolutely steals the show. I
think she might have gave the best performance in the MCU ever.
Yeah, it's possible. I think she could be the most talented actor in the entire MCU. She can do anything. She's so talented, and she carries the movie. And it's another villain who is fueled and motivated through a tragic past. So we really empathize with her. Ironically, this came out during Mother's Day weekend. It's very much a motherhood movie. Her, the villain.
And then Multiverse of Madness Mom. Did they do that on purpose, or was it just chance? Who knows?
Exactly.
Because it's just America's when the date is the May 9th.
Yeah, and this movie also, it reminded me of Everything Everywhere All at Once. This was, I think, made well before that one was made, because this was made over 2 years ago. But Wanda, just like the characters in that movie, when they can look on their computer and see the different multiverses, the different universes, Wanda and eventually Strange, using that book, they can literally look at the multiverse and look at the different worlds that they want to try and enter to see and find the correct one. I really like that approach to the multiverse being seen visually for certain characters.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Actually, Elizabeth Olsen, after she wrapped WandaVision filming, 2 days later, she went into filming for this. So she went from WandaVision to this, so she stayed in character, I'm sure, and was able to really just expand on Scarlet Witch, because Scarlet Witch is now in control of Wanda's body, you could say. She's no longer Wanda inside of her. And that's why when she faces the other Wanda has no chance against her, because she's Scarlet Witch, a more powerful being.
Yeah, and also this movie really hammered home the fact that even if a character dies in one universe, they're definitely going to be coming back anytime in the future. It leaves it up in the air in terms of the Illuminati characters all being killed. This was just like a tease for us seeing them, and they'll have their own movies and stuff. But also, Wanda could definitely come back. We've already, in this movie, interacted with another Wanda who has a pretty sizable role in the film. So just because she died in this universe does not mean that she cannot come back in the future. And it seems as though maybe over the next 10 years, House of M storyline might be the big one to go with.
I guarantee we see her again for sure. Now, there's so much to go over. So many characters.
My favorite character.
Oh yeah, I thought it was the same.
No, my favorite character was Zombie Doctor Strange.
Yeah, I love Zombie Strange.
So awesome,
so cool.
But I was surprised because the trailer made it seem like that would be the villain, because it ended with Zombie Doctor Strange with the black spirits floating around him.
Yeah.
And it made it seem like, oh, that's the big bad of the movie. maybe. And I was thinking,
or Sinister Strange.
yeah, or I thought Sinister Strange was gonna turn into that zombie Strange. That was my prediction from watching the trailer. But that I only watched that trailer
And knowing nothing about the comic book
at all,
lore.
knowing nothing. So my assumption was that evil, sinister Doctor Strange would somehow become this zombified Doctor Strange, and that would be the big bad that Wanda and Doctor Strange and America Chavez would have to go up against. So I was surprised to see that it was actually our Doctor Strange using the body as a puppet, which was very funny. And the gore is great because he was wearing all prosthetic makeup and it looked scary. I was like, watching this, I was like, wow, this is a Disney movie. They're really doing it. Like, they're actually like showing something disturbing imagery, some gross makeup and special effects. I was all aboard. And I just really like the movements and like his fingers are broken and don't really work, and it was just I got a real kick out of Zombie Strange.
Don't you need a living body to be, or a body to be able to dreamwalk? Who says it has to be alive? Something like that. It's a great line. But I mean, it's because it's Sam Raimi, and I would say that this is the most of a director's style we've ever seen in an MCU movie. So many close-ups, so much gross and shocking gore, which I love. Some campy stuff as well.
You mean like the zoom-in close-ups?
Yeah, the zoom-in close-ups.
Moving fast.
Not even just zoom-ins, but there is a ton of close-ups because that's one of his styles, and he likes super close-ups as well as like some super close-ups. There's like a super close-up where the camera is just doing like a half circle around Doctor Strange from a distance, zoomed in. It's like, what Marvel movie is like this at all?
Yeah, and also there's that montage of the footage, like a minute-long montage with I can't remember what's happening.
We've only seen this once, so give us a so like bear with us.
But like he blended together a bunch of shots, like moving like an animation that would have been done in the 70s or 80s. You never seen anything like that in any kind of like comic book movie at all. And I thought it was really cool to see that too.
Oh, I think when you're thinking of when he's using the zombie body and Christine's protecting him in that.
Yeah, well, no, it's a montage of like footage being layered over each other from several shots,
gotcha.
And it was Scarlet Witch, Doctor Strange, a couple of locations with candles. It looked like a music video montage.
Yeah,
you know
obviously
what I mean?
Raimi is one of the best horror directors of all time with his Evil Dead franchise. Drag Me to Hell is a very recent horror movie he did. Well, not very recent, but recent horror movie he did this century that's excellent as well. Very underrated. We've been wanting a darker MCU movie. We got it. We've been wanting a horror movie from the MCU. We've pretty much got it here. There's a lot of great campy humor as well that he likes to put in his movies. Tons of POV shots to give the audience the front seat of stuff that's going on. Tons of Dutch angles, dolly zoom. So his brushstroke is all over this film.
Yeah, a lot of great use of just like classical filmmaking techniques, whereas most Marvel movies, they're basically very simply shot and lit because they're so efficient. Like they shoot for speed to get their movies, because these are big movies and they have release dates set in advance before they even start production. So they have to finish these huge, gigantic shoots in time to meet release dates. So they have to go as quickly as possible. And so that's why generally Marvel movies tend to stylistically look similar. Whereas I thought it was so refreshing to see a completely new kind of camera work and cinematography in a Marvel movie.
And then Danny Elfman doing the music, collaborated with Sam Raimi. It sounded awesome. It's one of my favorite scores he's done recently, and it sounded a lot similar to Spider-Man themes. I feel like he was like throwing those like kind of similar tones and themes as well and stuff like that into it just to pay homage to Spider-Man.
So Danny Elfman has actually composed music for now 16 comic book movies.
That's insane.
16.
That
so
is
the Batman
insane.
films, Dick Tracy, Darkman, Men in Black series, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films, Hulk, Wanted, Hellboy 2, The Golden Army, Avengers, Age of Ultron, Justice League, and Multiverse of Madness. So 16 comic book movies have been scored by Danny Elfman. I didn't realize, so he's the king of comic book movie scores.
I had no idea he had done that many. Yeah. That's absolutely insane.
Pretty wild.
And so the main characters of this film, obviously besides Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange, we also have a Christine Palmer, who I think is a very improved character, because we talked about in our Doctor Strange episode how we wish Christine had more to do in the third act of that film and with the plot going forward. But in this film, we meet another version of Christine Palmer from a different multiverse world, and she is like a multiverse expert, which we'll get into a little bit. We have some more of Mordo, and he has some great plot points and sort of an antagonist to Stephen Strange. But then America Chavez, played by Xochitl Gomez, is an excellent new character to this franchise. She has the ability to create portals between dimensions of the multiverse, manifesting huge star shapes in the air that she can kick or punch in order to shatter them into an open door. She's a multiverse traveler. However, there is only one version of her in the entire multiverse.
And I thought Gomez did a great job. She's actually the youngest actor to ever be cast in a major role in a Marvel movie. She
I
was
believe
only
she's-
14.
Yeah, she's only she's 16 now, I believe.
No, yeah, but yeah, 14 when they made this,
Yeah.
which is crazy because you're working with like huge heavyweight actors. So I think she did a great job holding her own. I really like her character. I think she's a great new addition to the MCU. She's very charming, very talented, cool character, fascinating power. It's something unexpected and very important going forward. You can tell America is going to be like a key to unlocking many of the doors in the future of the MCU.
And we can also assume her powers are just going to grow because at the end of the film, she's doing sorcerer training at Carmitage, just like Stephen Strange was doing at the beginning of Doctor Strange.
Sparks.
She's also irritable and like impatient, just like he was in that film. And I was gonna be like, are they gonna send her to that Arctic environment to like figure out how to make the circle? I thought they'd make a
I
joke.
hope she's not dead.
I thought Wong would make a joke
That's
about
actually,
that.
yeah, that was a missed
I was
opportunity.
waiting for him. Like, is he gonna say something about that?
Because that's a funny part of Doctor Strange one where it's like, what if he doesn't make it back?
Because isn't it Wong who's like, oh, not another one?
Yeah. Like how many of your students have died freezing on the top of Mount Everest? And also Benedict Wong is a standout in this movie. He had a lot more to do than the previous movies.
I like how he's Sorcerer Supreme now.
Yeah, because in Infinity War, he basically just bounced. Remember the initial scene attacking New York, and then he's like, I need to go protect the Sanctum Sanctorum, and then we never saw him again
until the final
Endgame. But I was like, oh man, Wong's gone. Too bad. But now he had a lot to do in this film. He's a fan favorite. He's a very talented actor, Benedict Wong, and I think Wong is definitely going to have a bright future in the MCU. People are saying he might even get his own TV show, but he's a great friend to Steven, also his superior, which is a lot of fun. They poke fun at, and he's great in the action sequences. The opening scene, he's awesome, and at the conclusion, he has a lot to do. I like that he had more screen time.
He's like, it's an ancient custom to bow in front of the Sorcerer Supreme. See? Ancient custom. Now, before we get more into plot and characters and stuff, I want to go over terminology because there's a lot of new things in terms of words I'd never heard of before this film that I think we really should just talk about briefly and go over. And we're getting some help from nerds.com on this because there's a lot to go over. So, starting off with Earth 616. So, the main MCU universe is Earth 616. This is where the overwhelming majority of the events in the franchise have taken place. This has been basically like what we've known as reality in the MCU. And that's what it was labeled by the Illuminati, Earth 616. And the collection of heroes that we see in this other parallel world is designated Earth 883. So we can just assume that there are thousands and thousands of known universes.
Trillions.
Of known.
Oh, known. Yeah, known.
Wait for the adjective. Incursions. What is an incursion? It occurs when two parallel universes collide with Earth as the focal point. This involves the extremely strange visual of another Earth appearing in the sky. If this collision is not prevented, both universes are destroyed. The simplest method of prevention is to destroy one of the Earths before they can collide, thus saving both universes at the cost of a few billion lives. It's quite the lose-lose situation. Obviously, in this film, we learned that the Doctor Strange on Earth 883 caused an incursion and trillions of people and two entire universes were wiped out from existence.
Next up, we have the Illuminati, who are a group of superheroes that protect one of the parallel Earths in the titular universe. However, it's not accurate to say that they are the universe's equivalent of the Avengers. The names are different for a reason. Befitting their role, the Illuminati are a secret cabal of superpowered beings, not a public-facing team. Reed Richards, Captain Marvel, Baron Mordo, Captain Carter, Professor X, and Black Bolt make up the Illuminati in this world.
And we can assume that other characters and other heroes come in and out of the Illuminati in this universe, in this world. Now we have the Darkhold, also known as the Book of Sins, the Book of Spells, and the Book of the Damned. The Darkhold was transcribed from, forgive my pronunciation, Chthon's dark magic. I don't know how to say his name.
He did great.
He's the original demon, I believe. He carved the spells into the walls of a castle at the top of Wundagore Mountain in Eastern Europe, which we also see in the film. The masters of the mystic arts were aware of the transcription, and that's where the book, the Darkhold book, was a copy of these inscriptions, which is heavily featured in the film. The book was obtained by Agatha Harkness and WandaVision, who brought it with her to Westview in order to amplify her powers so she could manipulate Wanda Maximoff's reality without being noticed. It was later taken by Maximoff after she became Scarlet Witch, and read it, although the book corrupted her into unleashing a multiverse rampage to gain an alternate versions of her children. However, as soon as she broke out of its influence at the end of this film, we know that she destroyed every copy of the Darkhold within the multiverse to stop it from ever being misused. And we can assume, which means maybe there'll never be another Scarlet Witch unless another Scarlet Witch can be made without the Darkhold.
Good point. And then there's another book, the Book of Vishanti. Doctor Strange believed another book of magic could be used to counter the Darkhold, the Book of Vishanti, which he pursued into the multiverse only for it to be destroyed before his very eyes. Doctor Strange was left with no choice but to use another version of the Darkhold itself against Scarlet Witch, drawing on the blackest of magics and risking his soul to save the multiverse. And is it the Book of Vishanti is the one that corrupted Sinister Strange?
No, the Darkhold was...
The Darkhold corrupted it?
The Book of Ashanti is the exact opposite of the Darkhold. So it's like just peace and harmony. And that's why it gets destroyed by the singlest touch of darkness destroys it.
Okay. So Sinister Strange used the Darkhold in his universe.
Yeah, that's what he had attached to him. That's what Doctor Strange was trying to steal from him. And that's what Doctor Strange uses to dreamwalk and become Zombie Strange.
And who had Deathly Hallows?
America Chavez had the Deathly Hallows. Now, the Gap Injunction is where the Book of Ashanti is held. This is a dimension in the realm of swirling floors, which existed at a nexus between the worlds. That's where the opening of the film in this other world, where Defender Strange with America Chavez were unable to securely get the Book of Ashanti against that demon, and that's where he was trying to take away America Chavez's powers because they failed their mission on getting the Book of Ashanti, and he thought it was the only way to save the multiverse was taking America's powers because she couldn't control them. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, and fortunately it worked out, and she was saved and sent to another universe, accidentally using her powers. The Illuminati knew how to reach the Book of Ashanti, which rested under a fractured version of Bernini's Baldacchino from St. Peter's Cathedral. Their Supreme Strange created a secret portal referred to as a waypoint. That's where Earth 883 Christine Palmer, our Stephen Strange, and America Chavez crossed over in the Gap Junction, which they end up still not getting in. It was destroyed.
Gotcha. Next up, we have Mount Wundagore. The Darkhold that Wanda acquired on WandaVision was only a copy, not the original. Its destruction led to Wong, desperate to protect his fellow sorcerers from unimaginable pain, telling the Scarlet Witch the original spells resided on Mount Wundagore and the walls. He did not expect her to survive a trip up there, but she did. Wong said no one ever returned from Mount Wundagore, which had been created by the evil god Chthon, who also made the Darkhold.
I bet it's pronounced like with a silent CH or something. It's spelled CHTHON.
And then at the end of this film, we all know Wanda destroys Mount Wundagore in order to prevent both herself and anyone from ever again using the evil, corrupting chaos magic of the Darkhold. Every copy in the multiverse burned away when Mount Wundagore fell. So it was like maybe the origin of it. So that's why all the books were destroyed.
Moving on to Dreamwalking. Dreamwalking allows someone to inhabit the mind of a variant in another universe so they can use them as a meat puppet, which is what they referred to in the film. On Mount Wundagore of her own world, the Scarlet Witch used Dreamwalking to remotely control the body of Wanda Mom on Earth 883. The Scarlet Witch attacked the Illuminati, just not with her own body. She was using the body of this other Wanda. Doctor Strange also used Dreamwalking to take over the dead body of Defender Strange. Our main Strange, had left Defender Strange's corpse buried in his own universe, and we found out that you don't need a living body. All you need is a body in that other universe. However, it came with the consequences where he was risking his soul and was almost brought down to the hell of the dead or whatever that place was called. But he was able to eventually use them as a weapon against Scarlet Witch out of the advice of Christine. Was it who gave him the advice to do that? Was it Wong or Christine?
To do what?
Is Christine who said to use them, right?
To use what?
When he was almost, his soul was almost lost by those evil spirits. It was Christine.
She told him.
She said to use them as a tool, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It was him.
Yeah.
It was her.
To turn the tables on them.
Yeah, something like that.
I just said that, not her.
My, how the turntables have.
Next up, we finally learned that in the MCU, dreams are actually glimpses of other dimensions and universes in the multiverse, because the movie opens with Defender Strange and America Chavez as trying to escape that monster in the Gap Junction, our Doctor Strange thinks it's just nothing more than a very vivid dream. But then we learn it's a reality that happened in a different universe. So now we know that people can dream their other universes within their dreams.
Well, that's what their dreams are.
Yeah, that's what they are.
They're glimpses into their variants, and that's why America says she doesn't dream, because she's the only America Chavez in the entire multiverse.
Yeah,
which is kind of a bummer and sad. She's just alone. But she's a cool girl. I think she'll be great.
She's very cool.
Listen to your friend Billy Zane. He's a cool guy.
Dude.
Now, some other little things. Doctor Strange. So Sinister Strange has a third eye, and then at the end of the film, post-credits, the first post-credits scene, Doctor Strange develops that third eye.
Great ending.
Before he's met with the new character played by
Clea.
Charlize Theron. Clea. Now, what is this third eye? I did a little bit of research, just a couple of minutes, and
wow, impressive.
Now, what does the third eye mean in the comics? It's not said what it means in the movie, but in the comics, his third eye is a manifestation of the Eye of Agamotto, which we have on the desk right here. Pretty cool. And so, even though the stone was destroyed, the Time Stone was destroyed by Thanos crushing the eye in the comics. However, we see in this film that Doctor Strange has reconstructed it, and it remains empty, though. He does open it when he's doing a spell, remember? Mm-hmm. But there's nothing inside of it. The Time Stone's not inside of it.
Yeah, there's no eye in there.
But in the comics, it's then manifested on Strange's forehead and gives him special powers. The third eye gives Strange a sort of magical enhanced sight. It's a revealer of truth that can reenact recent events and see into the souls of others. So it seems that we'll figure out, I'm sure, later on what happens and what the third eye means. It obviously had something to do with the Darkhold, I'm sure, because maybe he's like evolving into a new version of himself. He's like, oh, I got extra powers. He took one of those stones like in Pokemon, and this is like the third evolution of Doctor Strange. he got the Thunderstone.
Plus,
is that what those stones are called? I can't remember.
It's been a minute.
Hold on, let me look it up.
But the third eye looks really cool, and it was a great way to end it with the post-credit scene where he's like, "Oh, I finally grew into a better part of myself, and I've changed over these events." And then he seems to be in a great mood, and then the eye just pops out of his head. It was great. I loved it.
Yeah, it was the water, fire, and thunderstones.
That's it.
Yeah, I was right.
Yeah, that's it.
Just give it to Pikachu to turn to Raichu, and then you regret it immediately because you just want Pikachu back.
Yeah, Raichu's overrated.
Raichu! He's all right. It sounds like he's sneezing.
Oh, my God.
All right.
So, yeah, we got a lot of new information in this movie. Going forward, it's going to help us out.
How about we go forward with our intermission, and then we'll get back to the movie and go over some more stuff.
Sounds wonderful.
This week, we are brought to you by our friends Zavvi, the home of pop culture. Head on over to Zavvi.com, that's Zavvi.com, and use our coupon code Raiders for all sorts of discounts on merch, memorabilia, and clothing.
They have a bunch of new clothing lines launching right now and very soon, including a 50th anniversary Godfather line, a Star Wars 45th anniversary clothing line, also Doctor Strange clothing line launching very soon, and an Obi-Wan Kenobi clothing line launching as well.
We are decked out in merch from Zavvi for this episode. I'm wearing a Spider-Man hat. I got a Guardians of the Galaxy t-shirt, and I also have an Eye of Agamotto on my desk. This thing is super cool. Has a built-in light in with it comes up and you use
and it's
batteries,
motorized.
And it's motorized and turns on. It's really freaking cool.
Yeah, it gives you magical powers too.
Yeah,
and I have
the Time Stone inside of it.
And I have this amazing Spider-Man sweatshirt. I love it. Check it out. It's so cozy and it looks really cool. Zavvi also released the latest issue of The Lowdown, their official digital monthly magazine about all things pop culture. The Lowdown is your go-to place for all things film and TV, gaming, and featuring exclusive interviews about the biggest titles and features that take a deeper look at beloved classics. In this month's edition, we go behind the scenes on Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, the upcoming Star Wars show Obi-Wan Kenobi, Pixar's Lightyear, and the horror film Dashcam.
And we'll actually be featured in one of those in the next month, I believe, right?
We're going to be featured in the June issue.
So cool.
Yeah. All of Zavvi's clothing is printed on demand in their official warehouse in the UK, meaning they only produce the clothing once it is sold on the website. The benefit of this is the quality print job, as well as no wasted garments after new clothing launches.
So head to Zavvi.com, get all your merch, all sorts of bundles on collectibles and memorabilia, as well as steel books. So cool. We have so many that have been sent to us. Use our coupon code Raiders at checkout from Zavi.com. That's ZAVVI.com, and get all your stuff today. I'm sure we all had access to the Darkhold because there's got to be some sort of spell for grooming because it can get pretty dark down there, guys. So that's why you should head on over to manscaped.com if you are not a sorcerer or a witch and get the Lawnmower 4.0 groomer from them today. Use our coupon code Raiders of the Lost at checkout. You'll get 20% off and free shipping worldwide from manscaped.com. We've been talking about the Lawnmower 4.0 groomer for about a year now. It's fantastic. 7,000 RPM motor, built-in light, wireless charger. It's waterproof. You can use it in the shower. I don't know what you're doing if you haven't gotten it yet. Manscaped also launched their Ultimate Premium Collection this year, which includes deodorant, a body wash, 2-in-1 shampoo, conditioner, hydrating body spray, and a free set of Manscaped lip balm. Head on over to manscaped.com. Use our coupon code Raiders of the Lost at checkout. You get 20% off and free shipping on your entire order worldwide.
And our other amazing sponsor, MoviePosters.com, has teamed up with us to offer a very special deal, 10% off your orders on their website. Head on over to MoviePosters.com and use coupon code Raiders10 to get that discount. They have a gigantic selection of pretty much every movie and TV show imaginable in their arsenal, as well as every Marvel movie and TV show. So for all you fans of Marvel, the best place to get your posters is at movieposters.com. Again, use our coupon code Raiders10 to get 10% off. They have all sorts of sizes, framing, backlighting, whatever your poster needs are, they got you covered.
Let's hit on into our intermission and begin with the movie quote competition. You ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
This one's for me. I'd forgotten what they looked like. They're so beautiful. They're so tiny.
Say it again.
I'd forgotten what they looked like. They're so beautiful. They're so tiny.
I don't know.
Children of Men.
Oh,
That's Chiwetel
baby's
Ejiofor's character
born.
Luke
Yeah.
in the war, and he sees the baby finally.
Good one. Okay, here's my quote. Choose life. Choose a job. Choose a career. Choose a family. Choose a fucking big television. Choose washing machines, cars, compact disc players, and electric tin openers. Choose good health, low cholesterol, and dental insurance. Choose fixed insurance, interest, mortgage repayments. Choose a starter home. Choose your friends. Choose leisure wear and matching luggage.
Trainspotting.
Correct. There's a lot more I did not include. It's a big one.
Love that movie. Guess this movie release year. Salt.
You want Chiwetel today?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going 2010.
Correcto.
Yes! Oh, yeah. Okay.
Nice job.
Guess this movie release year. Moulin Rouge.
You went Ewan McGregor today.
Yeah.
2002.
1.
Ah!
Close.
God damn it.
Close, but no cigar.
Movie pop quiz time. This is a list. I know how much you love lists. Name the 4 actors who play the adopted brothers in 4 Brothers.
Garrett Hedlund, Mark Wahlberg. Oh, man. Hold on. I'm trying to picture them. Oh, who? I can't even picture them in my head because Chiwetel plays the villain.
Wow, this is pretty easy.
Hold on. I'm blanking. Tyrese.
Yep.
I can't even picture the third one. I'm trying. Oh, my God.
He's I'll give you a hint. He's a rapper.
I don't know.
Andre 3000.
Oh,
Idiot.
Oh, man. Forgot.
Good question, right?
That was a great question.
Would have been great if you got it right.
I couldn't even picture it. Like, oh, man. Yeah. Okay, here's my quiz question. What Michael Bay movie did Ewan McGregor star in?
Ewan McGregor and Michael Bay?
Yep.
I'm just going to take a guess. The Island.
Correct.
Oh, he directed that?
Yeah.
It seems like his style.
Yeah.
I feel like a 360 shot of them two after the escape happens.
Yeah, there's a couple of
Yeah. That's Ewan and ScarJo, right?
That's correct.
Man, that's a pretty good movie.
That is pretty good.
It's a good twist.
Yeah. It's a good clone movie for you fans of clone movies.
What's our hater of the week or unsubscribes? What we got going on?
I have a funny unsubscribe. I get sent a lot of memes we do in our DMs, and we appreciate everyone sending us memes for us posting, and it's great. But our buddy Raymond J. Raymond Wilkerson,
Wilkerson?
sent us the for tomato meme.
Oh my God, so funny.
It's so funny.
So it's the Return
But I
of the
didn't
King.
credit him, so he wrote no credits, unsubscribed, crying face. He was just kidding. But I just get sent so many. I have a huge gallery of them, and I can never remember who sent me
It's
them.
a genius meme, and so it's the Return of the King meme that you see all the time, where it's Aragorn looking back and saying for Frodo, but this time it's someone photoshopped Denethor's head on him, and it says for tomato.
It's one of my favorite memes ever.
Denethor and the tomatoes, we all know.
Oh my God,
This is the thing.
It's so funny. It's a genius meme.
All right.
Thanks, pal, for the meme.
We have a great 5-star review for Supporter of the Week from Leon S. Kennedy. Definitely the best duo, one of the best duos out there. I've been listening to these guys for a year now. First finding them from TikTok and then started watching their podcasts and videos and loved it. The banter between them is so good, especially in the Morbius episode, and how knowledgeable they are in the film, from screenwriters to composers on each film. Love them so much. Ended up joining their Patreon. Whoa, Leon, thank you.
You're the best.
If you're interested in film or want to be updated in films or in depth learning, can't recommend these guys enough. Wow.
Thanks,
really
pal.
appreciate it, Leon.
Appreciate you. We also have a Godfather shout out for this episode.
Who is it?
It's our friend Amanda Hatfield.
Amanda!
She became a Godfather tier.
Amanda.
I made you an offer you could have
You joined the Patreon. Thank you so
on the
much.
day of my daughter's wedding. Thank you, Amanda. You've always been a longtime supporter of the show, always interacting with us on social media. And she picked a very funny movie for review.
What did she select?
She selected Tusk.
Oh my God! She did that just to spite us, right?
Just to mess with us, because she.
I'm gonna-
It's a good movie, but she knows it like makes our skin crawl.
Makes me cringe just thinking about it.
So
all right, we'll cover it for you.
we're gonna make a great review for you, but very funny, Amanda.
It's gonna be painful. Now, on this day in film history, today is May 12th. In 1994, Pulp Fiction premieres at Cannes Film Festival, and that's where it also won the Palme d'Or. In 2017, King Arthur: Legend of the Sword was released. And happy birthday to Homer Simpson, Ving Rhames, Emilio Estevez, Jason Biggs, and Rami Malek.
Emilio,
the mighty duckling himself.
duckling, man.
My streaming recommendation is a horror film because of Sam Raimi directing this film, and I chose The House of the Devil, one of my favorite indie horror films. It's on Hulu, directed by Ty West.
Excellent pick.
He just did X, FYI.
X was awesome too. My recommendation is Generation 56K on Netflix. It's a really great international TV series. Super funny, charming, romantic. It's about trying to date in the modern era with technology. Very accurate to real life. I really liked it, so I recommend you check it out.
It's also Italian.
It's also Italian.
Anthony recommended it to me earlier today.
Yeah, you should watch it.
Now, let's get back into Doctor Strange. How about we run through the plot real quick just to go over what's happening?
Go for it, bro.
So, obviously,
we know you like to run.
what Steven did in No Way Home at the beginning, casting that spell, opened up the multiverse and the dimensions, and so now we're feeling the effects of that still. And in this film, Stephen Strange and America Chavez are working together to try to save her from Wanda, Scarlet Witch, who's trying to access America Chavez's powers, her ability to travel the multiverse, so that Scarlet Witch can find a universe where she is happy and she has her two boys, because that's what she wants, because that's what she created and had seen in the multiverse. That's what she did in WandaVision. So she's trying to find that reality where that exists. And now she's stopping at nothing to obtain America Chavez, to steal her powers, to do this. Stephen Strange is trying to protect her at the same time as them traveling the multiverse, interacting with other versions of Stephen Strange and other characters that they know. And basically, that's it. That's the plot, is Scarlet Witch trying to steal her powers to find the reality she wants to live in.
I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, she said that like every other multiverse has her sons with her.
No.
Or is it just one?
I mean, there's probably a few. I think
there's a bunch.
Well, there's infinite multiverses, but
I think she said there's a lot of them with her boys in it. And
Probably.
And hers is one without it.
I'm sure there's universes where she has a daughter, all sorts of stuff like that. But she's trying to find the one where she does find an Earth 883.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, that's the plot of the film. But in addition to that, so much happens in this film. We have so many new characters. And I think Stephen Strange and America Chavez are one of the great strengths of this film, their relationship and how it grows, because the opening of the film is her with Defender Strange, and Defender Strange ends up trying to take her powers from her because she can't control them. He thinks that's the only way to save the multiverse from what's happening. However, he gets killed, and he was wrong anyways, because Stephen Strange, our Doctor Strange, ends up learning that America Chavez is the key to stopping the Scarlet Witch, who again is was prophesied in the Darkhold to become the ultimate most powerful being and have control over everything.
And also, Steven has become like a fully formed hero now by this point because he's willing to risk everything to save a kid. You know what I mean? And Wong does the same thing where he's willing to sacrifice himself, but not the lives of others. And that's something that, the original Stephen Strange was very selfish.
And we learned from earlier with Defender Strange, he says, in the grand calculus of the multiverse, their sacrifice will mean much more.
Yeah.
And that's what also...
he's like, you're just one dot in a pile of sand.
Because Doctor Strange, our Strange, used to believe that as well in past MCU films, but now he's realizing that just one death isn't worth, one innocent life isn't worth the rest of the multiverse.
So I think that he's become a fully formed hero by this point.
And also America doesn't trust him yet because of what the other Stephen Strange has done, and we can assume she's met other Doctor Stranges as well because she's been traveling the multiverse ever since she accidentally used her powers and she lost both of her mothers somewhere in the multiverse.
Very tragic scene.
Very tragic scene when they're in the lane of memory lane.
Yeah,
where they're in like that other universe. But I think their interactions and their storylines are very strong, and their relationship grows so much until America looks up to him and probably sees him as a father figure by the end of the film.
And we also got that really great montage of them going through different universes, which is a lot of fun.
He's like, were we paint in that one universe? She's like, yeah, you don't want to get stuck in there, bro.
Yeah. And then we get a great Bruce Campbell cameo, which harkens back to the Evil Dead 2, where in that movie, the book casts a spell on him and he starts hitting himself over and over again. Yeah. So they were referencing that in this cameo.
And so now a lot of the film takes place on Earth 883. And so after Scarlet Witch attacks Carmitage, let's talk about that first. So Stephen Strange goes to see Scarlet Witch, asking her if she knows anything about the multiverse, and she has this fake reality, which is so fascinating. And he's like, oh, you put the magic behind you. And she's like, I've been trying. And then she lets it slip that, like, she name drops America, and he's like, I never told you her name. She's like, oh, damn. She's like, why don't you just bring America to me? We could talk to her. You could figure it out.
Yeah.
And then she reveals her reality. I think that was one of my favorite scenes in the entire film, is to see the true Scarlet Witch behind Wanda, how Wanda is just gone, and like this is what her reality is, just fire and death and just red magic, chaos energy everywhere.
Yeah, and I love that. And then she reveals that she's the one who sent that monster after them in the opening scene, and then that ended up in New York City. So I loved the approach of Wanda starting out this movie as a villain and already.
I love how that's her version of being merciful, really, and what I can't remember what they...
Well, she says it like twice.
Not merciful, but there's a word...
Oh, man, it's on the tip of my tongue.
This is me being... Oh, what is it? Oh, I can't think of it.
God damn it.
God damn it. Anyways, you all know what we're talking about. You're probably screaming it at the radio right now. This is me being...
Reasonable.
Reasonable. Thank you. Thank God.
Yes.
And then, so sending Gargantos is her being reasonable and everything else. And then her attacking Carmitage, that's also reasonable as well. But that's, I think... One of my favorite sequences is her attacking Carmitage. It just shows how unstoppable she is. She's against all these sorcerers and Sorcerer Supreme and Doctor Strange. They are nothing compared to her. Even when they trap her temporarily inside that other dimension.
The mirror dimension.
The mirror dimension. Is it the mirror dimension?
It's something like that.
She ends up escaping, and it becomes a horror movie for like 20 minutes. And I love the sequence of her hands and limbs coming out of the walls and the reflections in the water, pulling people in, and then her chasing them down inside the tunnels to get to the Book of Vishanti and everything like that. It's really awesome and so scary and fun.
And my favorite shot is when they're ready to defend Carmitage, all of the pupils and the experienced wizards and witches, and Scarlet Witch is hovering above them, and she can't break through the force field. And then she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna try to take over one of their minds and influence them mentally." And then she finds someone who's weak, and it's this guy. And then the camera, she like gives a little smirk, and then the camera goes to a close up of him, like a medium close up, and then the sound just cuts out. There's no sound. And then suddenly Scarlet Witch appears behind him in slow motion, just like moving behind him, and she whispers, "Run," into his ear. I thought that was such a great moment. That it was such great filmmaking.
And a great
awesome
shot. I'm curious how he did it.
It's two shots.
Because is it two shots or did he do...
completely different shots.
Because
Elizabeth Olsen's not in the same shot as that actor.
Yeah, because he's enormous behind her. Her head's just huge and fills up the entire screen behind him, and he's the one in focus. Because I was like, did they do it like that? Or is it forced perspective?
Yeah, they're both in sharp focus, but also you can tell it's just... And that's what Sam Raimi has always done with his visual effects, going back to Spider-Man. Rather than just compositing one shot, he does multiple layers and puts them on top of each other, just like old school style visual effects and animation. And that's why the visual effects in a lot of cases looked a little different from what it typically looks like in a Marvel movie in this film. It's because of his approach to animation.
Yeah, it's really great. And then obviously they stand no chance against Scarlet Witch, who showcases that her being reasonable is just making people die instantly.
She kills a ton of people.
She murks dudes like crazy in this movie, and it's shocking to see for a Marvel movie in a Disney movie. Usually, even with Thanos, everyone just faded to dust. It wasn't as like emotional, or as emotional. It wasn't like as gory or horrific, you could say. But to actually see all these people getting killed like one at a time was awesome.
It has a great emotional impact at the end of the film, where when she sees she's scaring her kids, and they're terrified of her. They're crying. They're calling her a witch, and she's like, "I'm not a monster." And then she's like, "I am." She realizes, she has that moment of self-realization, like, I have become a monster. And that's the motivation for her sacrificing herself at the end. It was a great payoff for the emotional arc of her character, realizing that in the moment and seeing the looks of fear on the boys' faces of looking at her, crying and begging for her not to kill them. That's when she realized, I have become a terrible monster, and I am a villain, and I've become evil. I just love the payoff of the setup of the last couple of movies and TV show.
And she almost gets America Chavez at Carmitage, but fortunately Doctor Strange and America Chavez accidentally escape when she doesn't know how to control her powers yet. When she becomes emotional in a situation, that's when her powers arise. And so they escape through all these different dimensions, end up at Earth 883. However, Wong is left behind, and Scarlet Witch uses her to get to the location of the original carvings from the Darkhold.
Yeah, the temple thing.
Now, World 883, Earth 883 is where we spend a lot of time with the Illuminati and everything, and that's where Mordo very cleverly betrays Stephen Strange, because he was warned technically by the Stephen Strange from that Earth, or he knows what happened with that Stephen Strange, where he caused an incursion and the Illuminati had to take Doctor Strange out because of what happened.
They're looking at any Doctor Strange that shows up as a threat to the multiverse.
And
but I will say a con to this movie is that, and I predicted this before we walked in. I was like, Chiwetel Ejiofor's role is going to be so reduced to only a few minutes of screen time, because I'm sure because the setup of the first Doctor Strange set him up to be the big villain of the next one. But I think obviously Marvel changed their plans in a lot of ways and in a lot of movies, so that original plan was not going to work out. So Mordo, and Chiwetel is one of my favorite actors. I was a little disappointed to see how minimal screen time he had as a character.
Because what's he in? He's in 3 scenes or something like that. Because he's with them when they show up at the door
tea,
and they're drinking the tea, and he drugs them, and then he's with the Illuminati. And then the fight with Stephen Strange. I mean, he's in a decent amount of screen time, but you're right.
Impact on the plot.
We were anticipating him before the Multiverse of Madness, obviously, that he would be the villain or the antagonist in the next Doctor Strange movie. He is an antagonist in a way to Stephen Strange's goals.
And also, this is a different Mordo from the first movie.
But he has the view of the Illuminati, where they have to prevent any Doctor Strange from doing anything, because they know what he's capable of, because we learn, obviously, from Christine Palmer, who is now this multiverse expert, that the most dangerous person to the multiverse is Doctor Strange and the Stephen Stranges. And so following Doctor Strange's death in Earth 838, Christine Palmer went to work for the Baxter Foundation in multiversal research, aiding the Illuminati. The team Strange founded in order to honor his legacy. Palmer used her expertise in the multiverse in order to help the Illuminati against multiversal threats. During her time in research, she spent a lot of time naming multiversal realities, naming dimensions as she discovered them, and naming the Earth she was on as Earth 838. So she's like probably the foremost expert on the multiverse.
Love it.
Which I love, because Christine's such a great character, and now they've just improved her and expanded her character even more.
Yeah, and definitely a standout of this movie was the sequence where Scarlet Witch breaks in and just absolutely destroys the other heroes of the Illuminati. And I love how when Strange is warning them about Scarlet Witch, and they're like, we could handle one little witch, and then 2 minutes later she's killing them all. It's crazy.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So it's a horror movie at that point. She's chasing them down those hallways, and now she's in Earth 838 because she's dreamwalking now. She's dreamwalking, and she's in Wanda 838's body. She's going after Stephen Strange and America Chavez, because they learned from Mortal also that no matter what, she can dreamwalk and she will find you wherever you go. So that's why we have to stop you, and we have to imprison you to figure out what's going to happen next. and it's a great sequence where learning and meeting the Illuminati was really cool. Again, I think it would have been a lot more emotional if we didn't know, or like I said, I already knew 3 of them going in, but with John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic, that was really cool. And then also, who else? And then
Lashana Lynch as Captain Marvel.
Then we have Gabby Carter, and then I forgot his name again. Blackager Boltagon. Black Bolt. So that's the short name. Black Bolt. At first I was like, who is this guy? He doesn't talk. I had no idea who he was.
Yeah, me either.
But then we find out that his power is crazy strong. And even at full strength, his voice can destroy planets.
And he's the one who killed Dare Strange.
Yeah, so he's the one who, they executed him, basically.
Yeah, because he was too dangerous. And also, the fight sequence is great because, like we said earlier, it was graphic. You saw blood. You saw a lot of blood in this movie. You can tell that, Captain Carter gets impaled and gets cut in half.
Darth Maul style.
Yeah, Darth Maul style. Excellent. She crushes Captain Marvel with that giant stone pillar. Excellent sequence. I love the mouth sequence, and then Black Bolt, literally his head explodes from the inside.
That was the first moment I was like, holy crap.
Yeah, then I was like, oh, they're not pulling any punches. Like, wow, in a Disney movie. It's great.
And Sam Raimi was really clever with the gore, especially, I think, with Scarlet Witch when she's in Wanda 838's body at the Illuminati headquarters, and she first fights all of those androids, and she's covered in, oil and grease. It looks like blood splatter, so they get away with it, and it looked really cool, and they put that in the trailer, but then it gets mixed with blood, so then she's covered in blood and grease.
I think it was something that Marvel had to do especially after The Boys, because The Boys is so graphic and gory and has all that, and Invincible, and so I think Marvel really needed to do something like this to compete with what people are watching on those shows in terms of the gore and violence. In order to keep the audiences happy about seeing action in these movies, I think The Boys and Invincible had an impact on Marvel's approach in this one.
And Scarlet Witch is just so powerful that no one in the Illuminati stood a chance against her. She turns Reed Richards into rubber spaghetti.
When that happened, I was like, oh, shit.
She destroys Captain Marvel. She puts up a good fight, but really she's just technically toying with her. Captain Carter only lasts a minute against her, and we get the I could do this all day line, followed by her body getting cut in half. Professor X, who you could also assume is probably the most powerful, has the most power out of all of the Illuminati, also stood no chance against Wanda Maximoff, and we go inside of his I can't remember what the dimension's called that he enters when he's in people's minds, snaps his neck. But we also see Wanda 838 trapped underneath the rocks, and I love the red smoke of the Scarlet Witch coming for him, which is
beautiful,
really cool.
Beautiful shot. Yeah.
Takes out Black Bolt, so no one stands a chance against Scarlet Witch.
She's so powerful. And mentioning that image of the white environment with the red cloud of smoke just approaching, really beautiful. I think that is one of the most beautiful images in an MCU movie, as well as the set where Sinister Strange is, that staircase on the shore of the beach. Really beautiful set. I think that's my favorite set in any MCU movie. I thought it was so cool, surrealist.
The tide coming in.
Yeah, the tide coming in. I thought it was really fantastic. That staircase, it was so cool to see.
And there's a really great Easter egg in this film. There are many, but I think my favorite was before Professor X engages with his fight with Scarlet Witch, he says to Stephen, after he's going to tell Stephen how to get to the Book of Vishanti, and tells him where it is because he sees something different about this Doctor Strange, that, maybe there's hope with this one. He says, just because someone stumbles and loses their path doesn't mean they're lost forever. And this line is taken directly from the movie X-Men Days of Future Past.
One of the best superhero movies ever.
Yeah, he says that to Logan, right?
He says it to Logan. I believe he technically says it to Mordo in this, but Stephen Strange is there.
Well, Mordo's next. No. Well, but he's saying it about Stephen Strange. Yeah. He's not saying it to Mordo, like Mordo, just because you stumbled. This guy stumbled. Because Mordo only sees the bad. He doesn't want to believe Stephen Strange or believe in him, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that, Marvel movies are generally very funny and have a lot of great quippy lines, but I think a con to this movie is that a lot of the lines didn't really land for me.
I agree.
I laugh at everything in movie theaters. Anthony can attest to this. Anyone who goes to the theaters with me, I laugh at all jokes pretty much, like a lot of the time. And with the audience I was with, there was a couple that landed. There was like one or two really good ones. But in general, I think there are just a lot of comedic lines that just didn't land for audiences in this movie, which was surprising from a Marvel movie because generally they do.
Yeah, I also noticed that too because we were in a packed theater and there wasn't much laughter going on. People enjoyed the movie, but it wasn't. And the jokes, they kind of fell flat. I totally agree with you. They did fall flat. They didn't have that punch. Because Spider-Man No Way Home was hilarious.
And obviously the tone is different. This is like a horror-esque movie, but there's still plenty of one-liners that they were trying.
Yeah, so I agree. I think that the humor, it didn't work here, and maybe it would have just been best to try to avoid it.
I think not completely avoid it, but accept the movie for what it is, because you could argue that tonally the movie kind of bounces around from being like kind of just like a lot of dramatic exposition and some great character moments and beats that are very, very like endearing in a way, but then also the great graphic horror, the campy humor here and there. So maybe if they just picked one tone to go down, because it kind of bounced back and forth tonally for me.
Yeah.
So it didn't come. Maybe it didn't feel like it completely flowed well, because sometimes there'd be like a 15-minute sequence where it's like everything's slowed down and it's very, very light and positive, which you like, and it's good to balance that out and have those beats. Sometimes they might have ran a little too long. I think like Memory Lane maybe ran a little too long. I like getting America Chavez's background with Memory Lane, but maybe we didn't need it from Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
But we did learn about the Doctor Strange of that world from Memory Lane.
Yeah. I think that it was a little fast in the first half of the movie. It was very fast, and we didn't really catch our breath with what was going on. So I think that the first 40 minutes moved a little too quickly, and I would have liked it if they took a little bit of a slower pace in terms of the editing and allow for more character development instead, because they were just bouncing. So I think it was just a little too rapid fire. I would have been happy if the movie was 2.5 hours. I wouldn't have minded. So I would have liked more character development, especially between Strange and America, because they really bond during that sidewalk sequence. I would have liked to see more of them together, but without much going on. More character development as well.
I do think this movie had a great third act, though.
Yeah,
however,
great third act.
Terrific third act, because Wanda destroys the Book of Vishanti before they can reach it. Although this moment's like, just grab it, Doctor Strange. Just grab the thing. It's just like, he's like, it's finally, we've reached it. The Book of Vishanti. Let me just slow motion move my head. Oh no, Wanda's here. Obviously, she was just knocking on the door.
Oh my God. It's like they forgot she was right there.
It's like, dude, grab the thing. So she destroys it. She gets America Chavez, takes her back to Mount Wundagore, and then Christine and Doctor Strange,
they go to Sinister Strange's house.
Sinister Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum, in the dimension where there was an incursion, right? Or it was happening.
Yeah, it already
happened. It's a weird reality, and he basically just lives by himself in the Sanctum Sanctorum. And they have their battle. He defeats that Stephen Strange, and he gets killed and impaled on the fence outside. Super cool. And I love the character of Sinister
I like the
Strange.
musical note fight too.
Yeah, the music fight was really cool.
That was fun.
It's new. That's why I liked about it. It was something different.
Yeah, never seen. It wasn't just lasers shooting at each other.
Because they've done. I mean, how many fights has he had with just the magic? But to do something unique like that, I thought that was really fun, and it really showcased Danny Elfman in the film as well.
It was one of my favorite sequences.
And then Doctor Strange gets the great idea to use Zombie Strange on Earth 616 to go to Mount Wundagore, dreamwalking with the zombie body to stop Scarlet Witch from stealing America Chavez's powers and just end up possibly destroying the entire multiverse.
I love Zombie Strange.
It's so fun.
I loved it.
It was a great time, because when he's like, who said it had to be a living body? I was like, yeah, it's zombies. I was like, Zombie Strange. This is where it happens. It was so fun, so cool. Like Anthony said, the physical acting that Cumberbatch was doing was really fantastic. That was, I think, the most fun of the movie.
Yeah, I was smiling when he showed up and he was just like, as Zombie Strange. I was like, oh, this is friggin' awesome.
I shot my hands in the air in the theater. I didn't like exclaim because I didn't want to be rude, because it was like everyone was just like there
into it.
Yeah. But I was like, Doctor Strange, Zombie Strange.
It was pretty badass.
It was and then Sam Raimi, a hand popping up out of the ground. There's so many great things of Evil Dead Easter eggs, references of hands popping out of the ground and walls and stuff like that.
100%.
It was great.
Really excellent. And it has a great conclusion. I think that the third act is very strong, but I will say that the first act, it's CGI. It seemed like, from my guess, because remember there was all those reports of extensive reshoots for this movie. My guess is the first act was most of that, because a lot of that CGI looked a little unfinished. And when you compare it to the third act, which was heavy CGI, which all looked immaculate, I think the first act was the reshoots, because that seemed, and we watched it in IMAX in a big screen, and it was kind of noticeable, the CGI. which was atypical
I wouldn't
for a
say
Marvel
necessarily
movie.
the CGI was noticeable. I would say the green screen
green
behind
screen,
them.
yeah.
The green screen sets in the opening 15 minutes was very noticeable. And I think for me,
And also the monster fight in New York City.
I thought that looked pretty good.
There were shots in there that I noticed. I've noticed like color balance was off and the blending of the CGI wasn't quite right. I think those were the reshoots. That would be my guess, because the second half of the movie, the CGI is absolutely perfect and some of the best we've seen so far.
Yeah, but it was so fun to watch Doctor Strange use the Darkhold copy that he gets from Sinister Strange, Dreamwalk, Zombie Strange, going to fight against Scarlet Witch. And then he uses this dark spirits as a power and to be even more powerful. He's like a bat flying through the air coming
like
after Wanda. He's able to help America Chavez escape from Wanda Maximoff's spell of stealing her powers. And even though Zombie Strange gets basically almost completely...
there's a very sweet moment where America is like, you need to take my powers. It's okay, I understand.
Because he and Wong trap Scarlet Witch temporarily.
But then Strange was like, no, he gives her the confidence to embrace her power and try to control it, and telling her that she can do it and she's capable of it.
But also because he and Christine saw the page in the Darkhold before it was, in the book of Vishanti, before it was completely engulfed in flames, that had the star on it. I don't know if you noticed. They
I
saw
didn't notice that.
So they saw the page real quick, because before it caught on fire, it was open. So on that page, there's a star, and that obviously means that Stephen Strange realized that America Chavez is the key to stopping Scarlet Witch.
But even if he didn't see that, he wouldn't have sucked her powers away.
Exactly.
He would have done anything to save her life, which I love.
And America Chavez was the key, because as America Chavez understands her powers and can now control them, she sends Scarlet Witch and her to 838 Earth and Wanda and those children, the boys that she thinks that she needs in her life to fill the void and the trauma of her past.
And I love the line, like, what happens to their real mother? And I love that line from Wong.
So then she shows them what their life would look like with her as a mother, and what she's become in her path of not revenge, but of just desire, of what she thinks will make her happy, and how she has turned into a monster. And that's what the key was: America Chavez being able to control her powers to show Scarlet Witch what she has turned into.
Yeah, to that reveal of seeing how she's frightened her kids to scared them to death. That was the big catalyst for the conclusion of her sacrificing herself. Great moment, great powerful moment.
And then Scarlet Witch, you could say Wanda's kind of taking over or getting a say in the personality now. She destroys every copy in the multiverse of the Darkhold, and then takes down Mount Wundagore with her. We assume she dies in the destruction. However, it's at the MCU. I'm sure Elizabeth Olsen will be back as a version of Wanda.
I think 883 Wanda will be back.
I'm sure, maybe we'll probably get a version of Wanda. Maybe we'll get another Scarlet Witch somehow without the Darkhold. Who knows? But we can assume she'll be back. But it's a great character moment for Scarlet Witch after she's been turned into this villain, this monster, and this unstoppable Scarlet Witch, how she realizes what she's become, and the only way to stop and somehow undo what she's done to an extent is to destroy herself and destroy the Darkhold.
Yeah, my guess for Scarlet Witch is that 883 version, because she interacted in the events of this story, I think that she's the one we're going to see in the future.
Probably. And then it obviously ends with Chavez. She's now at Carmitage, and she's training to become a sorcerer. Wong is still Sorcerer Supreme, and Strange bows to him. Obviously, it was a very funny moment, a full circle joke right there. And then we see that Strange in the post-credit scene has developed that third eye and is going to help stop an incursion that he caused.
And then Clea shows up, played by Charlize Theron. Now, Clea is a powerful sorceress from the Dark Dimension and the niece of Dormammu, its ruler. So the villain of the first film, Dormammu, this is his rebellious niece who wants to take him out, I believe.
And so he follows her into the Dark Dimension because he's facing his fear now, because Christine says don't like to face your fears, after he says that he was always afraid, even though that he loves her in every universe. Mm-hmm. Very, very touching moment.
Yeah, great ending.
Then also the second post-credit scene is Bruce Campbell, the fighting, punching himself in the face finally stops. Yeah. And then it's really funny because it's over! And then the movie ends. It's the final ones. But now, real quick question. What does the destruction of the books mean? So the Darkhold obviously has been destroyed in every multiverse, every universe, which means that it can't be used. The dark magic's gone forever. So will that mean, like we said earlier, can Scarlet Witch ever be created from Wanda without the Darkhold? I'm sure we'll find out. Maybe Agatha Harkness will have something to play with that future with another creation of Scarlet Witch.
I like that.
Because I think it'd be cool to get Scarlet Witch back, but Wanda is also an excellent character. And now the Book of Vishanti, that was destroyed in that realm. What does that mean? That means it's gone forever because there's only one Book of Vishanti, and that's gone forever as well. So the Darkhold and Book of Vishanti won't ever come into play probably in the MCU ever again, probably because the books were destroyed and also Mount Wundagore was destroyed by Scarlet Witch.
Very, very cool. Very cool.
Very cool.
We'll see. I think Wanda will be back eventually, but I like your theory with Agatha Harkness.
Maybe
she'll be back.
She seems like she could be a big player in the future of the MCU.
She'll be back.
I mean, she's getting her own. She's getting her own movie.
Origins.
Is it a movie or a TV show?
Origins TV show.
Yeah. So I mean, it's pretty interesting. So this is, I guess,
the fun movie.
Yeah, it's the first step of one of the early steps of Phase 4 going
Phase
forward.
46.
Phase 46. It's just getting bigger, and now obviously we'll get the X-Men coming in to play, I'm sure, with Professor
and
X.
the Fantastic Four.
Fantastic Four. Yeah. And what does the
and the Marvels.
Yeah, so what are they setting up? I'm guessing, I think the biggest guess is MCU setting up the Secret Wars. The Secret Wars was a multiple issue comic. Most recently, there was one from 2015. And so what happens is the premise revolves around the collision of Marvel's Universe 616 and Ultimate Marvel 1610 universe, which destroys both, but pieces of the two universes are mysteriously saved and combined with other post-collision universes, creating the Battle World. And Doctor Doom comes into play and becomes God Emperor Doom and one of the main villains in the Secret Wars. And apparently the Fantastic Four is the central figure piece of the Secret Wars.
I like the name Battle World.
So
sounds cool.
We don't know much about the comics. Hopefully I got some of that right. But it seems like Secret Wars is the path that's going forward for the MCU. So it's just going to get bigger and bigger in scope, way more characters. So basically it's just going to be like the comics. And that's what we've been saying, I think, ever since we started the show, is that Marvel is just expanding and going to keep expanding. And it's just going to be the comics is now just going to be TV and movie format, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I like the idea.
All right, I think
that's it. So where are you ranking this in Marvel?
I gotta see it again. You know, would I
top 10 for you?
Would I put it in top 10? Maybe. You know, I still like Doctor Strange, the first one. I think I had that top 10, but you know, I probably putting this above that one just because I think Scarlet Witch was such a great character. You know, she was maybe the best villain or antagonist we've gotten in the MCU so far. It's like between her and Thanos, but I mean, I think she stole the show. Every scene she was in, Elizabeth Olsen, was fantastic. And man, she can cry on command, like weeping constantly in this movie. And just also the spectrum of emotions of the rage, the vengefulness, the hate, everything. So she was so terrific in this. So I think I might put a top 10 Marvel for me.
Yeah, I think I need to see it again.
I do want to see it again. Hopefully we'll have time to see it in theaters, but we're going on a trip soon to Italy in Europe, so maybe not because we still got other movies we got to check out.
We got Disney Plus.
I thought it was a really fun, good, fun time. Obviously, there's some pros and cons to it, but I think we did a pretty good job summing it all up.
I think you really carried this one.
Thanks, man.
Great job.
I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you.
Thanks, everyone, for tuning into the show.
This is our episode of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Become a patron today at patreon.com/Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Take care. Into Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Be sure to subscribe if you're new. Hit the like button, leave a comment. Find us on all audio streaming platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find us. Find us on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Raiders of the Lost Podcast. Be sure to check out one of these other videos right here for more content on our favorite films and breaking down all kinds of movie content. Thanks so much.